Has there been progress under the management of Nuno Espirito Santo? He's now been in charge of West Ham United for 10 games. And in those games, we've only won 2, we've drawn 4, and we've lost 4. Yet, we look at some of the draws and the defeats and ask ourselves whether some of those results could have been better. The 2 defeats against Leeds United and Brentford were puzzling because after 2 quite decent performances in Nuno's first 2 games, which were against Everton and Arsenal, he tore up the team sheet and fielded what looked to be an experimental side, especially in midfield, and it didn't work. Yet Nuno, had he stuck with to his guns and fielded perhaps a similar midfield to the ones in the first 2 games, then perhaps we may have gotten something from those 2 games against Brentford and Leeds. Not necessarily wins, but perhaps another couple of points maybe. And those another couple of points could have made a huge difference to where we're at in the league right now. Then we look at our last 4 games under Nuno. 3 draws and a defeat to a really poor Liverpool side. And again, we ask ourselves, should we have had more than those 3 points from those games? The commanding 2-0 lead over Bournemouth was changed when Nuno decided to withdraw Callum Wilson just 5 minutes into the second half. That meant we conceded territory. We had no threat going forward, and it invited Bournemouth to attack us, which they did, and they walked away with a draw. Then the insipid home performance against Liverpool, where again we sat back, allowed Liverpool to declare the pace of the game, and had we gone at them just like other teams have done before and after our game, then we don't know what that outcome would have been. Instead, we might not have finished losing to a poor Liverpool side 2-0 at home. And then the game against Man United, we applauded the team for their fight, for their endeavour and desire to get back into the game after going a goal down. And we richly deserved the draw, and maybe even more had we put away our opportunities right at the end of the game. And then with Brighton, the same, but this time we went a goal up. Nuno made changes to get us the goal, an inspired cameo performance by Callum Wilson, who's growing on me, to be quite honest with you, setting up Jared Bowen to score from the acutest of angles to put us ahead. But then to see the game out, which in all honesty seemed the right thing to do with only 9 minutes to go, we conceded a goal which was born from the harshest of refereeing and VAR decisions. And as much as the 1-1 draw against Man United felt like a victory, in a way, the 1-1 draw against Brighton and the 2-2 draw against Bournemouth both felt like defeats. And this is the one thing that fans are a little bit frustrated, or some fans are a little bit frustrated with Nuno about. Many believing that trying to defend the lead is not the right way to go about things. I kind of understand that. We tried to defend the lead against Bournemouth. We were pegged back and conceded. We tried to defend the lead against Brighton, and the same thing happened. We really don't have the squad, especially at this moment in time, to defend the lead that well. And it's almost sometimes detrimental to West Ham if we go a goal ahead. Man United was the prime example where we were chasing the game and Nuno went all out to get a goal, and we succeeded in doing so. So therefore, if it works when we're losing, why not follow the same path when we're either winning, drawing, losing, whatever? Just keep attacking until the final whistle goes. As many people say, attack is the best form of defense. Now, we were kind of warned that Nuno was the Portuguese version of David Moyes, you know, in trying to defend the lead. And that's very much a David Moyes trait. But for me, that's where the similarity ends between him and Nuno, because there are so many positives to take, not only from the Brighton game, but from almost every game under Nuno since his arrival. All right, I take that back. There are a lot of positives to take from every game bar Leeds United, Brentford and Liverpool. And I'll get to what those positives are in a moment, because what I like you to do, if you've a viewer of the West Ham Boys and not yet to become a subscriber, or if you've watched the channel before, or if it's the first time, should I say, that you've watched the channel, if you enjoy it, please do click on that QR code that's appeared in the top corner. Subscription is free, so please do that. If you enjoy the show, you can hit the like button after the show. And you can also hit the hype button. They're both below the video. The hype button allows you to allow other people to watch the show. And if you're feeling rather generous, I also have a membership scheme for the West Ham boys. For $1.99 a month, you get extra content, and all the money raised through the membership scheme goes directly to Prostate Cancer UK. And so far, we've raised about £420 for that charity. Okay, let me focus on the positives, because there are an awful lot of positives that Nuno has brought to West Ham. Let's start briefly on the reflection of the game against Brighton, because believe it or not, there were some positives made there. Now, many people are suggesting that the substitutions that Nuno made were actually negative, but I don't know. If you think about the substitutions he made throughout the game, the first one was on the 63rd minute. Freddie Potts came on for Rodriguez. Now, no one could argue with that particular change. Fresh young legs coming into midfield, that was definitely a positive, although many fans would say that Rodriguez shouldn't have played, shouldn't play at all, let alone start the game. But he made that change, and that, to me, was a positive. And then the next change he made was on the 72nd minute when Callum Wilson came on for retiring Crescencio Somerville. Somerville, let's not forget, his first game back after several weeks out injured, so he was not going to last the 90 minutes. And Somerville, and when Wilson came on, within a minute, in 51 seconds, he created the goal for Jared Bowen. So that's surely a positive as well. And then on the 82nd minute, we're a goal up, two more substitutions made. Souček on for Paqueta, and young Ezra Myers on for Malik Diouf. Another positive, 18 years of age, academy player, Ezra Myers gets his Premier League debut under Nuno. So, sure, these two changes, Souček and Myers, were certainly defensive-minded. But again, in order to keep our shape, I don't know if it was that much of a negative thing for him to do. Now, in the final substitution was made a minute later when Magassa came on for Fernandes. Now, many would have preferred to perhaps see Magassa with Fernandes and Potts on all at the same time, and I get that, instead of taking Fernandes off for Magassa. But given how they played against Man United, I kind of understand why fans would have wanted to see that. But from what we've seen of these players, not many fans would argue that closing the game off with Magassa and Potts in the heart of central midfield was necessarily the wrong thing to do. Now, I guess the problem is, with the changes made, we started to sit deeper, and that concerned us all. And of course, we paid the price, as I've said, for the most controversial of equalizers. But one has to question whether the players were ordered by Nuno to sit deep, or whether it's just a mindset that they did it automatically. I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what Nuno says. Hold your shape, drop deeper, because the more the game went on, the deeper and deeper we got. But let's not forget, we still had some attacking outlets. Souček can run the pace of the pitch. He's shown that in previous games. Bowen was still on the pitch. Wilson was still on the pitch. Still, I get the fans. I get why the fans might be upset, because what we've seemed to have done is we were winning against Bournemouth, and we didn't finish the game winning. And we were winning against Brighton, and again, we didn't finish the game winning. So could we have had more points from those games? Look, for me, I get the substitutions, and I know a lot of people were upset with them, but I think they made an awful lot of logical sense. But there are many more positives to take from Nuno's arrival at West Ham over the last 10 games. Think about the players that have clearly improved under his leadership. We've got to start from the back and talk about Alphonse Areola, who was nowhere near being first choice keeper under Graham Potter, and he has grown under Nuno. He has got his confidence back. His decision making has improved immensely. His passing still, his distribution still leaves a lot to be desired, but his decision making and his confidence is back. which is, a massive addition to his excellent shot stopping ability. Now, I've said this before, it can't come as any coincidence that Areola's form has improved since the arrival of goalkeeping coach Rui Barbosa, who has worked with Nuno in the past. And then we've got to look at defence. Jean-Claire Todibo is proving to be every penny that we actually paid for him. It's taken almost a season and a half, but we can now see the quality that he has. He has now found a new energy, an urgency about him, whereas before he seemed to be a little bit sort of lackluster, lackadaisical, a little bit too laid back, and we know that doesn't work for the Premier League. Dinos has improved as well, and he can no longer be considered a backup in central defence. He's one of our starters. Aaron Wan-Bissaka seems to be getting his mojo back, beginning to find the form which leaves that he had in the past, which leaves Malik Diouf and Kilman. Now, I like Malik. You saw the passion when he blocked a cross in the first half. He's learning, he's disciplined. He's going to take time for him to become the whole package in the Premier League, but I think he's getting there because he's shown enough quality to do so. The only disappointment, I guess, in defence is Max Kilman, the player that we actually all thought would benefit most from Nuno's arrival, given their time together at Wolverhampton Wanderers. In fairness to him, Kilman did have a better game against Brighton, but his lapse of concentration still concerns me. And then you think about midfield, and the improvement there is vast. It's for all to see. As much as we as fans didn't like it, Nuno's use of players, certainly in midfield, has got to be commended. From the vibrant young all-action midfield against Man United to the more established use of players like Guido Rodriguez against Brighton, it actually made a lot of sense because we've got so many games coming up throughout December. Nuno is going to need his squad, he's going to need the depth, and he's going to need them all to be fit and ready to help out. Now, whilst I agree that Fernandes at the age of 21, Magassa at the age of 22, Potts at 22 as well, whilst I agree that you should all be able to play 2 games a week with no problem, burning them out now won't bode well for the congestion fixture that's coming up. We've got 4 games remaining in December, 4. And then we've got 2 more, and that's to be played in just over 2 weeks. And then it's followed up by 2 more games right at the start of January. So essentially 6 games in a month. And if that's not enough to deal with, we're going to lose Malik Diouf and Wan-Bissaka to the AFCON probably in the next couple of weeks. So Nuno needs to rotate the squad, whether we like it or not, and most of the players available to him are likely to be involved. But it is the midfield that we've seen a marked improvement. Instead of a slow, turgid, aged midfield, all of a sudden, that part of the park has got a dynamic, youthful feel about it that we could have only have dreamed of under the previous 3 managers at the club. Fernandes is showing his true worth. I admit, I never thought he was worth the £40 million we paid for him. And yet, just like Callum Wilson, he's proving me wrong as well. After serving his apprenticeship in the league, in League One and the Championship, Freddie Potts is also doing exceptionally well in this West Ham side. And Sungutu Magassa, a snip at £17 million, I believe will become another very solid player for West Ham. And then that just leaves our attack. And as much as I can't credit Nuno for making Callum Wilson the player that he already is, Callum Wilson himself is demonstrating what a powerhouse he can be in this Nuno setup. And when he's fully fit, look what he can do. I mean, he bullied the Brighton defence when he came on in the latter stages of the game on Sunday. Long may that remain, but we know he's just a nick away from being injured. And then you've got to look at even more positivity. You've got to look at the academy. The icing on the cake, the introduction of academy players, but not as some token gesture in games that aren't worth anything. Nuno needed more legs in midfield against Man United, and on came Mohamedou Kante, and he did really well. And I've just mentioned with Malik, Juve, and Wan-Bissaka off to AFCON, and Oli Scar still recovering from injury, Nuno needs backups for his fullbacks, and until the January transfer window opens, if he's even targeting fullbacks when that window opens, I don't know. Therefore, giving left-footed academy defender Ezra Myers his first taste of Premier League football at left back at a crucial time in the game against Brighton was brave but very forward thinking as well. In general, I think there's a new vigour about West Ham United, a new dynamism in this team, a new lease of life, and the players are responding well to Nuno's tactics. Sure, there are still things to sort out, but I think Nuno will get it right. We're slowly becoming the team that in Nuno's guise, and that's before he's even brought his own players into the squad, like I say, probably through the January window. He's using his playing resources well, and he's improving players as he goes along. Who would have thought, like I've just mentioned, some of the players, like Todibo, like Areola, etc., who would have thought they'll be at the level that they are now? We all thought about, discarding them and finding other players to buy. With the January window fast looming, he will add players to this squad without the need now to have to discard large chunks of it. That's another positive. How many times have we had a manager come in and he's just discarded half the squad, brought in his own players? Graham Potter did it just before he left as well. And then it takes time for them to gel. Whereas Nuno has actually improved players. He will bring other players in order to add to those improved players. And that's got to be a positive. Rather than needing another squad overhaul in January, Nuno has got a nucleus now that he can add to with confidence. There's a lot to be confident about. Okay, we're still in the bottom three. I get that. And I understand that. But I think the draws that we're getting at the moment are going to soon be turning into wins. Let's trust the process. Let's trust Nuno and see how much further forward he can take us.